David actually flagged this, given what we're seeing in software stocks. We're going to go there because, well, in fact, we've picked WiseTech. Now, Morgan Stanley slashing its valuations for those ASX tech stocks, saying they need to reflect a world with AI disruption. Even after the cut, the investment bank's targets prices there still imply potential upside for some of those selected stocks, suggesting investors should rethink their approach to the tech sector. Morgan Stanley saying previous valuations were too generous, but remained overweight on software names such as WiseTech, Xero and Technology One. The broker noting that WiseTech and Xero benefit from well-established network effects, partially sheltering them against cost and price shocks. So, what do our experts think of that space, and in particular WiseTech? David, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think it's not surprising that we've seen a reduction in outlook for some of those stocks, and we had been cautious late last year and early into this year about the heights that many of those large cap tech stocks in the US were reaching, and their valuations were extraordinary and well over the top. I don't think we have seen as much of that play out here in Australia, and in fact recently we've seen a sell-off in a lot of those SaaS stocks, and even WiseTech had a sell-off before that because WiseTech has had its own issues as far as corporate governance is concerned, and we've obviously seen some significant changes there. But I think it does create an opportunity that WiseTech is a very high quality business. They do have a very loyal and growing customer base. And AI will actually assist them in providing productivity gains for their customers. So WiseTech's involved in the global logistics. They obviously have a bit of a hiccup at the moment with ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, which has an issue for some of their customers. But as far as the long-term software, we think that their client base is locked in, and that will continue to grow as their customers need that technology. And WiseTech will actually enable their customers to implement AI as part of their logistics and as part of their operations. So we actually see it as a good quality stock. We also have a buy recommendation on it. Our target price is actually a bit more than Morgan Stanley. I think they reduced theirs to $70. Ours is $88. So we think that there is some more upside to it. Having said that, though, it is highly volatile. We've seen the stock come off significantly over the last 12 months, and that sector does have a tendency to be a little bit more volatile. And when I cast my eye across the other technology stocks that we look at, a significant number of them are now buy rated that we have actually looked at the valuation. We also agree that the likes of Xero and Technology One are appealing. We also like stocks like Hansen, which is a smaller Australian-based software company that has customers all around the world. As well as Energy One, which is a software company that provides software to the energy sector. So there are a number of stocks there, and WiseTech is one of the key picks, I think, at the moment, with a buy recommendation on it as well.
Righto, a buy for you then, WiseTech in particular. Zach, would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt about the quality of WiseTech. So disappointed with the management shenanigans. I'm not going to mince my words. Completely ruined a great story, and obviously now the AI overlay onto that. But putting that aside, I think what's important to understand is I think this AI sort of euphoria is going to kind of gone a little bit too far as well. And I'll just give you a quick example. Just this morning or last night, I knew the answer, and I just put very simple into two models, Claude and ChatGPT, and I said, did Woolworths and Coles provide the defensive sell-off qualities during the 2022 sell-off, the Russian-Ukraine war? It came out with numbers were completely opposite to what the reality was. Now, these are factual. All I had to do was Yahoo Finance, get the numbers and go, this is what the price did. It was completely wrong. And by the way, when you said, no, you are completely wrong, it turned around and it said world, I just you shouldn't trust my numbers. I just made a plausible guess on how they would have, traded or performed. That's, I mean, it's a very small, it's a very small example, but this is what potentially people are using or think it's going to replace human intervention and whatnot. So our view is AI is absolutely here to stay. It will be a slow evolution rather than an aggressive revolution, what the market is pricing in. And quality companies with mission critical software, good investment in R&D, and frankly, proprietary data. I think that's where you need to focus on. And obviously friction to changing to other obviously lesser known AI providers. But the example that I've just given you, if you sort of upheaval all your internal IT requirements and go to some unknown entity, and that's the kind of results it's spitting out, we're going to have bigger problems. So WiseTech, we're on board. I think one thing, what David said, we certainly have been sort of thumping the table as well, that I think we realized last year is the terminal value of these companies was much lower now. And that's what drives most DCF. I mean, Morgan Stanley, very kind of them to reduce their multiples, but they were allocating an EV/EBITDA, I think from memory, of 44 times on next DC. And WiseTech, I'm just checking it now, that's down from about 44, 45 times to now 15 times. So adjustments have been made, but I think it's going to take a little while before we get a clean air. And I think there will be an inflection point where markets start to move back into it. Final point is that I think the one thing that's moving against the tech sector more broadly is obviously the move towards hard assets and a higher for longer inflation and interest rate environment. That's just going to be a sentiment headwind for the sector anyway.
So you'd be buying WiseTech here?
I'd be holding that for the time being.
Hold? Okay. All right. So a buy and a hold then for WiseTech. That is our stock of the day.